another week of Kids Church Online. I am so excited to be here with you today. Why are you so excited? Because you are amazing. There is no one else on the planet like you. You are one of a kind, and that's why I just love hanging out with you, because you're all so unique and have your own little personalities. It is so awesome to have all of our church kids joining us online today. Hello Blakely and Leo and Lincoln and baby Nyla. Hello Addie and Charlotte, Holly, Amy, Grace and Sylvia, baby Julia. Big hello to Maddie and Harmony and Lexi and Jeffy. Amelia, you're looking good, girl. Welcome Bazinet family, we love you guys. And to all our other church kids tuning in, let me know you're watching in the comments so I can give you a shout out next week. I'm also so excited to be here because we're talking about something really special today. We're talking about the Bible. So if we're going to talk about the Bible, we should probably read it, yeah? So let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 32. And this verse says, "So don't ever be afraid, dearest friends, for your loving Father joyously gives you his kingdom realm with all its promises." Church kids, do you know where God puts all of his really good promises for you? Ding, 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 the Bible. Jesus goes on in the book of John. Chapter 15:10 says, "If you keep my commands, you will live in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands. For I continually live nourished and empowered by his love." That's incredible. Jesus says that his commands are like nourishment. It's like food for our soul that gives us life and energy, and it wakes us up on the inside. How many of you guys love food? And I mean love food. The Bible is like God's food that he's given us for your spirit. Before we go any further, I have a question for you. Have you ever had to do something where you had to follow a set of directions? Have you ever made a Lego set? Well, in the Lego box, there's a piece of paper all folded up and it has all the directions on it with a bunch of pictures, and it shows you exactly what to do. Or maybe in school you've done one of those color picture books where all the numbers are on there and you just got to color in all the numbers, and then you get this beautiful photo of a dog and you colored it yourself and it's awesome? Have you ever had to read directions before? That's my question. Now, when you get a Happy Meal at McDonald's, sometimes in the kids pack, they have these little tiny Lego figures as the toy. And you guys have probably seen these McDonald's toys. You don't really need instructions. You can just look at the picture on the bag and clip them all together because there's only a couple pieces. But let's just say you want to build this dinosaur. This is a really epic dinosaur. Okay, this is a giant dinosaur. Or maybe you want to build this Lego princess castle. I bet you would probably need some instructions to make something like that. Every good Lego master builder knows that you need to read the instructions. Do you know why the instructions are put in the box in the first place? It's not because they want to boss you around or take away all your fun, but it's actually because the directions inside of that box are going to guide you and help you. You can follow them and experience the incredible thing that they have designed and created for you. And that's why directions are great. When we follow directions, we get to experience the amazing things that the Creator intended for us to enjoy. And that's what this is. God is the Lego master builder of life. He has given these directions to us, first of all, to find out who he is. And second of all, to experience and enjoy life the way he designed it to be. This book, the Bible, is the most incredible, crazy, unbelievable, unimaginable book ever written. There's action, there's adventure, there's romance, there's good guys and bad guys, there's talking donkeys, there's healing, there's war. Some parts are going to make you laugh, some parts are going to make you cry. Jesus goes around, he heals everybody with his supernatural heaven power. It is an insanely good book, you guys. And did you know that over 5 billion copies of the Bible have been sold? The Bible is the all-time greatest selling book in history. Church kids, did you know that it took roughly 1,500 years to write the Bible? That's so crazy. And over 40 people wrote this book. The thing that's really cool about the Bible is it's actually less of a book and more of a library. Because the Bible is a book full of books. There are 66 small books in the Bible. And now the first section of this book is called the Old Testament. This section in the Old Testament is all about God creating the universe and the earth, and then he gives the 10 Commandments, and then it goes all the way up right until before Jesus is born. And the Old Testament has some of our favorite stories, like Noah's Ark, David and Goliath, the splitting of the Red Sea. Now, this second section of the Bible is called the New Testament. And this section is all about Jesus. It's all about Jesus' life. It starts just before he was born, and it talks all about his life, his ministry, and all about him growing up. It talks about how he heals the sick and tells everyone what God in heaven is like. Oh, and he also has 12 friends that he hangs out with all the time, and they want to be just like him. He teaches them and trains them how to be exactly like himself. And not only that, Jesus died on the cross, then he was buried, then he was resurrected after 3 days. And it doesn't stop there, because that's just the beginning of the church. And the church is not a building. The church is all the people around the world that follow Jesus. And then the Bible talks all the way up until what's going to happen at the very end of time. What? This book is so incredible. But if you're anything like me, you kind of look at this book and you're like, this is not a 10-page graphic novel. This is very long. This book is, let me show you. This book is 1,677 pages. Wow, that's a long book. And I don't know, maybe you're one of those church kids who's like, I'm just gonna sit on my reading chair and read a good 1,000-page book today for fun because I feel like it. I don't know, maybe you're like that. That's totally fine if you are. But I kind of hear that and I'm like, I don't think I can do that. That's pretty long. But you know, church kids, there's a couple things that you and I can do to help us read the Bible. And the first thing you need to do when you read the Bible, when you sit down, when you have your book, you need to just stop. Just stop. And you need to say, Jesus, I want you to talk to me today. Before you even open the Bible up, there's something very, very important you need to do. You need to stop and you need to ask Jesus if he will help you, if he will talk to you today. We stop, we simply ask and say, Jesus, will you help me as I read this? Church kids, you may not know this, but the Bible isn't just a book with ink and paper. The Bible is alive. Hebrews 4:12 says, for the Word of God is alive and powerful. When we read the Bible to discover who Jesus is, God will speak to us through what we read. It's true. And when God talks to us when we read the Bible, it changes our entire life. So, when we stop and ask God to come and speak to us when we're reading, there's a verse in Matthew and it says this, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. So what do we do when we read the Bible? We ask Jesus to come and speak to us. The second thing we do when we read the Bible is we start in the New Testament. Remember, that's the second section of the Bible. Why do we do that, Emma? Great question! Because the first 4 books of the New Testament are called the Gospels. And the Gospels are good news. It's all about the life of Jesus. If everything in the Bible points to Jesus, then we should start by reading about Jesus' life. Reading about who he is and what he did and how he saved the whole world. When we read the Gospels and we know who Jesus is, it changes the way we read the whole rest of the Bible. So how do we read the Bible? First, we ask Jesus to talk to us. Second, we start in the New Testament. And third, we look for ordinary people like you and me who God used to do extraordinary things. Esther was from a poor family, but because of her faith and devotion to God, he made her queen to save her people. You're going to learn about these 3 ordinary guys who refused to worship any other god except for their God. And because of that, they got thrown in a fiery furnace that was really, really hot. But they didn't die because Jesus saved them. You're going to learn about Jonah, who tried to run from God, and so God kind of just made a fish eat him for a couple days and then spit him out after he had had a good time out. You're going to read about a guy named Paul who was in jail and they got busted him out of jail and then he went and saved a bunch of people and he healed and it was super, super cool. And do you want to know the one thing that all of those people had in common? None of them had superpowers. None of them wore capes. None of them shot lasers out of their eyes or their ears or their nose. They were just ordinary people like you and I. Ordinary people who God showed them how much he loved them and then used them to help other people. So how do we read this incredible book? 1, we ask Jesus to speak to us. 2, we start in the New Testament with the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And 3, We look for ordinary people like you and me who God used to do extraordinary things. And you know what the great thing is? You don't have to try and read it all at once. The Bible has tiny little chapters that you can go chapter by chapter, or even just a couple verses. It's not actually about how much you read each time. It's about Jesus speaking to us when we do read. Church kids, if you don't have a Bible of your own, I want you to go to whoever you live with, if it's your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, your auntie, your uncle, and I want you to say, hey, can I have a Bible? I'd really like a Bible. And I promise they will get you one. And then you might be thinking, okay, I got one. What do I do with it? Open to the book of Matthew in the New Testament. And then stop and say, Jesus, will you come and speak to me right now? And then just read a couple verses. And then the next day, do the exact same thing. So why do we read the Bible, church kids? So that we can know Jesus for ourselves. Are we doing it to be a better person or to be more loved by God? Nah. We do it to know Jesus more.